Hi, I am Dr. Selvaraj, your surgical educator from Malaysia. Welcome back to my series of surgical teaching videocasts. These are meant mainly for undergraduate medical students doing the surgical clerkship rotation. I promise you will become competent in clinical problem solving and surgical decision making if you are going to watch these videos over and over again. Today in this episode, I am going to discuss about nipple discharge and algorithmic approach. So my objective of this presentation is after watching this video, all of you should be able to understand the definition of nipple discharge, how to elicit history in a case of nipple discharge patient and how to do a thorough physical examination. This is nothing but your symptoms and signs. And then all of you should be able to know what are the investigations you should do in a case of nipple discharge and how to interpret the report of these investigations when they are going to be ready with you. And then finally, you should plan the treatment and then you have to treat the patient accordingly depending upon what is the cause for this nipple discharge. You have to come to a diagnosis and then you have to treat it appropriately. So what I am going to do in this video is I am going to use this algorithm. That is why I called it algorithmic approach. See, this A is here. A is the definition. What is nipple discharge? And then B, C, D, showing this is the second step. This is the first one. The second step is nothing but how to elicit the history and physicals. That is the second step. B, C, D. And then here it is showing the E and F. It is showing the in various investigations in the algorithm it is showing like that. And then G is the interpretation of these investigations, and then H and I are discussing about how to treat these patients. So I am going to use this algorithm in all my slides. You will be seeing in all my slides because it is an algorithmic approach. I am going to tell about it and then I am going to explain each and every step. That is what I am going to do in this video. So number one, okay, we are going to talk about, okay, the definition. That is the first thing I am going to talk. So any secretion of the breast coming out through the lactiferous ducts opening in the nipple is called nipple discharge. Okay, this is that simple. What are the various causes of this nipple discharge? Okay, we will see here now. So discharge can be, you can divide it into discharge from the surface. Some skin problem in the nipple, okay, like the Paget's disease. This is nothing but the cancer, skin cancer in the area of nipple areola complex. That is Paget's disease. Naturally, the patient will have some discharge. Or it could be some eczema or psoriasis, skin problem, or it could be chancre, that is syphilis. Nowadays, it's not common. It is, I have never seen a case of chancre recently. So another thing is discharge from a single duct, from the nipple only, but from a single duct. If it is blood stain, you have to suspect intraductal papilloma or intraductal carcinoma. Duct ectasia also can cause blood stain discharge, but the incidence is not that much. The most common cause for blood stain nipple discharge from a single duct is intraductal papilloma. Even carcinoma is not that common. Duct ectasia is very rare. Suppose if the discharge is from a single duct, but the nature of discharge is serous one, then you have to suspect fibrocystic disease or fibroadenosis and duct ectasia also. Very rarely it could be carcinoma if it is serous discharge. Now coming to discharge from more than one duct, it is not from a single duct, and if it is blood stain, then you have to suspect number one cause now is carcinoma. It is not papilloma now. If the discharge is coming from many ducts, not single duct, bloody discharge, then you have to think of carcinoma first, and then duct ectasia, and then even fibrocystic disease, and not intraductal papilloma, even if it is blood stain, because intraductal papilloma is involving only a single duct. It will never involve multiple ducts. And suppose if it is discharge is from many ducts and the color of the discharge is black or green, you have to think of duct ectasia, or even creamy color, you have to think of duct ectasia. If it is purulent or pus is coming through, then you have to think of infection, that is breast abscess. If it is serous discharge from multiple ducts, then the number one cause is fibrocystic disease. You can also think of duct ectasia, and very rarely it could be carcinoma. If it is milk discharge from many ducts, so the normal cause is it is lactation. Some rare causes also you have to think, like hypothyroidism or pituitary tumor, adenoma prolactinoma. That you have to think. So that is what, these are the various causes of the, for the nipple discharge. This you must know. Now we are going to go to the second step, that is BCD. This is nothing but how to elicit a thorough history and how to do a thorough physical examination. These are nothing but symptoms and signs. History to differentiate mainly the pathological from physiological discharge. This is the main thing you have to do. Whether it is physiological means benign condition. Pathological means it could be some tumor, some underlying tumor. So you have to ask certain questions to elicit whether it is physiological or pathological. You have to ask questions regarding the timing, whether the discharge is spontaneous or it is an expressed one, and whether it is unilateral or bilateral. What is the color of the discharge? What is the character of the discharge? Is it sticky or not? Is it coming from the single duct or multiple ducts? History of pregnancy and nursing. So if there is history of pregnancy and nursing, then if the patient is having milky discharge, that is physiological. You need not bother about it. And you have to ask about nipple trauma also, history of smoking, signs of mastitis, especially if the patient is having purulent discharge or pus discharge. You have to rule out any mastitis or breast abscess. And prior history of any nipple discharge also you have to ask. Any similar previous episode, that also. These are the questions you should ask in each and every patient with nipple discharge. Physiological nipple discharge is generally bilateral. It involves multiple ducts and it is often non-spontaneous or expressed nipple discharge. Whereas the pathological nipple discharge is generally unilateral, spontaneous, often from a single duct, and serous or bloody in nature, but it can also be brown in color. Physical examination should focus on any skin or nipple changes, like any ulcer, Paget's disease, eczema, all those things you have to see. And you have to look for any retraction of the nipple, any underlying mass in the areola or in the breast tissue, or any nodules. You have to make an attempt to express the discharge. If it is not coming spontaneously, no, you have to press circumferentially around the nipple areola, and you have to see while pressing which area. Like if you imagine the nipple areola as the face of a clock, is it coming while you are pressing 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock? That you have to find out. You have to compress or press around the nipple areola, and you have to find out on pressing which area, okay, the discharge is coming out through the nipple. You have to make this one. And you have to try to find out any regional lymphadenopathy also. That also you have to find out. What are the difference between the physiological and the pathological discharge. These are this very important tabular column. If it is physiological, this discharge is usually bilateral. In pathological discharge, it is unilateral discharge. So physiological, usually it is clear or milky in nature, physiological. Whereas pathological, it is bloody in nature. Physiological is coming from multiple ducts or from multiple quadrants. Whereas if it is pathological discharge, usually it is from single duct or from single quadrant. Physiological is non-spontaneous. It should be expressed out. Whereas pathological discharge is spontaneous. It is coming on its own. You need not press it to come out. It will come out on its own. And physiological means it is negative for occult blood. There won't be any bloody discharge, usually. But in pathological discharge, it is positive for occult blood. No underlying mass palpable in case of physiological discharge, whereas there is always underlying palpable mass in case of pathological discharge. The physiological discharge is usually sticky in nature, whereas the pathological discharge is very clear. It is non-sticky. Now, depending on the color, no, we can come to a conclusion. So you have to watch the color. This is very important. Okay, if the color is clear, you have to think of mammary duct ectasia. Okay, this is what you have to think. If it is bloody, usually the commonest and from single duct, you have to think of intraductal papilloma. If it is from multiple ducts, then number one cause is intraductal carcinoma. Okay, this is what the two commonest cause for bloody nipple discharge. If it is brown in color or various color, multicolor, then you have to think of fibrocystic disease or mammary duct ectasia. If it is green color discharge, then you have to think of fibrocystic disease or fibroadenosis. If it is yellow or purulent discharge, then you have to think of mastitis or breast abscess. If it is milky discharge, usually if it is a pregnant woman, then the cause is physiological, breastfeeding. Or rarely it could be hormone related, prolactinemia, because of prolactinoma or the pituitary tumor or even hypothyroidism can produce this galactorrhea. So coming to this slide, okay, this is the nipple discharge. If it is green in color, okay, you have to think of mammary duct ectasia, and if it is green and yellow, you have to think of fibrocystic disease. If it is bloody in nature, then you have to think of, if it is coming from single duct, then you have to think of intraductal papilloma, and maybe if it is from multiple ducts, then you have to think of carcinoma of the breast. If the discharge is purulent or pus in, it is usually mastitis or breast abscess. So coming to the second step, I have just discussed. Now I am going to the third step. This is the third one, E and F. So E and F is investigation. They're talking about the investigation. See, you can see it very well here. Yeah, now you can see it. See here, they are talking about BCD is non-spontaneous, milky, white, green, gray, or turn. What you have to do? You have to do only observe the patient, routine screening and examination only you have to do. If it is spontaneous, unilateral, bloody or star-colored discharge, then you have to do some investigation. If it is spontaneous, bilateral and copious milky discharge, usually, okay, endocrine workup, including the TSH and prolactin, you have to do. This is what they are discussing in this, algorithm. So I am discussing depending on this thing. I am going to now talk about the E and F here. Okay, regarding the appropriate workup may include mammogram, subareolar ultrasound, hormone levels like prolactin and TSH, and you can also do ductography and ductoscopy, but the scope of this investigation is limited. Galactorrhea can be caused by elevated prolactin levels. This elevated prolactin may be due to medications like psychotropics, antihypertensive, gastrointestinal drugs, anesthetics, amphetamines, marijuana, and estrogens. All these drugs can produce elevated prolactin, and that is the cause for the galactorrhea. If elevated prolactin is not due to medication, then you must do MRI of the brain to rule out prolactinoma. If a non-lactating woman is having bilateral milky discharge with amenorrhea, then also you have to rule out prolactinoma by doing an MRI of the brain. Lactation can last up to even 2 years or even more than that. Green or brown discharge is seen in periductal mastitis, or this is also known as ductal ectasia, and generally resolves on its own. You need not do anything. If there is no, associated active infection is there, usually it resolves on its own. Coming to the interpretation of the investigation, so this is G. So investigation, mammogram and subareolar ultrasound was done. So here it is interpretation of the investigation. If negative mammogram and ultrasound, what to do? If abnormal mammogram and subareolar ultrasound, what we have to do? That is what they are discussing in this stage. That is what I am going to discuss in this slide. In case of pathological nipple discharge, diagnostic mammogram and subareolar ultrasound are the imaging modalities of choice. If no abnormalities are seen on mammogram and subareolar ultrasound, examine the breast every 6 months for 2 years or until the discharge is going to be resolved. Risk of carcinoma in these cases is less than 3%, and surgical therapy to excise the duct is typically not needed, or it is unnecessary. You need not do any surgical excision of the involved duct. If in the presence of an imaging abnormality, you must do a biopsy to evaluate the cause for the pathology or the cause for this imaging abnormality. So you have to rule out whether it is a benign cause or malignant cause. For example, if there is a filling defect in a duct, in a single duct, you should take a biopsy to prove whether it is intraductal carcinoma or intraductal papilloma. For that, you should do a biopsy. Surgery is also indicated if it is having the imaging abnormality to remove the affected duct and the underlying lesion in order to rule out an associated carcinoma. So you have to excise that growth and you have to send it for biopsy to rule out whether it is carcinoma or whether it is just a papilloma. So you have to send it for biopsy. So now I am going to go to the interpretation of the, I am going to show you some of the investigations. So this is a case of papilloma. You are seeing here, this is the mammogram, and here you are seeing an ultrasound. Both you are seeing here. So this is a papilloma you are seeing here in the mammogram. This is the nipple area. So near the nipple you are seeing, underlying the nipple areola, you are seeing a mass there. So here in the ultrasound also, you are seeing a filling defect, but inside a cystic mass. Here you are seeing a small intraductal papilloma. Because in this, if here also you are seeing, this is the mammogram and this is the ultrasound. So in the ultrasound, you are seeing a large filling defect in here. This is the dilated ducts you are seeing here. Inside the dilated duct, this is the nipple area here. So here you are seeing a very big, filling defect. So you must do a biopsy of this one to prove whether it is just papilloma or it is carcinoma. So you must do a biopsy. So the ductography or MRI scan also you can do. Ductography is dependent on the physician's ability, depending on his experience in this with this technique. So if he has got that, I mean, expertise in ductography, if he has done so many ductography, then it can be a reliable test. Otherwise, no, it all depends on the efficiency of the surgeon who is doing it. And the next investigation you can do is MRI scan of the breast for those who are having bloody nipple discharge with negative ultrasound and mammogram finding, but having a very strong family history of carcinoma. In these cases, you can go for MRI scan to rule out any carcinoma. Another investigation is ductoscopy. This is also can be useful. If initial imaging studies are negative, then you can go for ductoscopy. This is the normal ductogram of normal ductal system. So you have to cannulate a single duct and then you have to inject the dye. You can see here you are seeing all the branching of these lactiferous ducts. You are seeing this is a normal one, whereas here you are seeing an intraductal filling defect. Most probably it is a case of papilloma. So for ductograms to be successful, the discharge should be profuse and the discharge should be spontaneous, and this should be affecting only a single duct. So this is a case of intraductal papilloma where you can inject the dye in this particular duct. You can see here the filling defect of caused by the intraductal papilloma. Very clearly you can see it. So for that, the discharge should be profuse, number one. It should be spontaneous and it should come from a single duct. So the another investigation is the ductoscopy. I was talking about it. This is a very small scope like a needle. So this you have to put inside. This is the viewer. This through this only you have to see inside. So you have to cannulate that particular, I mean, lactiferous duct in the nipple. The opening of the lactiferous duct in the nipple, you have to cannulate with this very thin ductoscopy, and you have to go in and then you can visualize through this lens. So these are the various views you can see inside the ducts. So you can see the inside finding, you can see the inflammation, you can see a growth inside. So you can take a biopsy also, but expertise in this ductoscopy, because it's very thin scopy. So I personally, I don't have any personal experience in ductoscopy, but in some centers they are doing this ductoscopy nowadays, but it is not very reliable test. It is not, still it is in rudimentary stage only. So now we are coming to the H and I. See, here you can see it very well. See, this is the H and I. So they are discussing about, okay, what to do, what treatment you have to do. That is what they are discussing in this stage. Okay, this is what I am going to discuss in this slide. So if the discharge is coming from single duct, then you have to do a surgery called microdocectomy. And then you have to subject the specimen for biopsy to find out whether it is a benign papilloma or a malignant carcinoma. You have to confirm it by sending the specimen to the biopsy. If the lesion, if the discharge is coming from multiple ducts, so then you have to we have to do subareolar duct excision, and this surgery is called Hudfield's operation. Here you can see, here you can see this is the Hudfield's operation, because this is the microdocectomy. This, if it is involving the single duct, you have to do microdocectomy. This is what I am showing you. You have to cannulate that particular duct from which the discharge is coming through a needle, and then you have to make a tennis rocket incision like this. You have to make an incision like this, and you have to excise the whole duct along with the surrounding tissue. You have to remove. This is what is called microdocectomy. If it is involving multiple ducts, then you have to do a periareolar, this areola, you have to periareolar incision, you have to make, and you have to elevate this areola skin flap. Below that, you can see all the these ducts. Many ducts you will see, but you have to excise a cone of tissue. The point is this is pointing, the tip is pointing about triangular strip of cone of tissue you have to remove, and then you have to suture this area, suture back this area. You have to remove the whole, this so many ducts you have to remove it, and this is what is called Hatfield's operation. Yeah, you have to counsel the woman of childbearing age that surgery may affect the future lactation. If you are, especially if you are doing the Hatfield's operation, you have to tell the woman of childbearing age that this surgery may affect the future lactation in her. This is a diagnostic algorithm. If somebody is having a nipple discharge, if it is a single lump, big lump, then you have to investigate that as a lump. You have to do the triple assessment for the lump, that is clinical exam, and then you have to do a imaging investigation, and then biopsy also you have to do. That is triple assessment. If there is no lump and patient is having discharge, then you have to go for mammography. If mammography is positive, then you have to investigate accordingly. Maybe patient is having some malignancy. If the mammography is normal, and if the patient is having bloody discharge, and if it is a recurrent one from single duct, then you have to suspect intraductal papilloma or intraductal carcinoma. If the bloody discharge is coming from multiple ducts and it is also tender, then you have to think of mammary duct ectasia. If there is no blood also, and if the discharge is creamy discharge is coming from multiple ducts, then also you have to think of mammary duct ectasia. If there is no bloody discharge, lumpy breast and greenish discharge, then you have to think of fibrocystic disease or fibroadenosis. So this is an analogy for our differential diagnosis. All clinicians, all of us are doing this one. This is an analogy. When we are thinking about the differential diagnosis for the nipple discharge, okay, you have to consider this. Here I am using one analogy. How we have to differentiate fish from shrimp from whales. All these creatures, the whales, fish and shrimp, all of them live in water. All three can swim in water. This is the common feature for all three organisms. Suppose if it is just fish and shrimp, the common features for both are, both of them can breathe in water and both of them are laying eggs. Okay, this is common for both. Suppose what are the features common for both fish and whales? Both of them, they have fins and internal skeletons also. Okay, this is common for both, but each one of them have a characteristic feature. This is the telltale evidence or the hallmark sign for a fish is fish are having scales, because both whales and shrimps, they are not having scales. Only fish can have scales. So like that, if something is there particularly, then we have to make that diagnosis. Suppose if it is a, epidermal cyst or sebaceous cyst, if the telltale or hallmark sign is the sign of molding. Yeah, if it is there and if the punctum is there, then okay, you can confirm it is a case of sebaceous cyst, like that. And if it is a slip sign or the pseudo fluctuation, that is the single sign that you can elicit only in lipoma. So you have to use this analogy like fish. What is the characteristic feature for a shrimp? Only shrimp among the three organisms, only shrimps are having legs. Okay, what are the characteristic feature of whales? Whales are having hair. They gave birth to life. Okay, they delivered babies and they are breathing air also, whales. This is the characteristic feature of these whales. So these characteristic feature all the confirmatory signs. Like that also in various differential diagnosis, you should know this hallmark sign for diagnosis. That is what I am going to show you in this tabular column. Okay, this tabular column is a ready reckoner to clinch your diagnosis in a case of nipple discharge. So always you have to compare and contrast the various causes for the nipple discharge. So the various causes are, I have already told you, duct papilloma, intraductal carcinoma, fibrocystic disease or fibroadenosis, ductal ectasia and prolactinoma. Okay, so if it is ductal papilloma, it is, what is the etiopathogenesis? It is solitary proliferation of ductal epithelium in a single duct. Okay, what is the history? Usually bloody serous nipple discharge. This is the history. What is the sign? Pea-sized subareolar lump may be there. It is not spontaneous discharge. Usually you have to press and it will come, but sometimes it can come spontaneously also. And what is the diagnostic investigation you should do? You can do ultrasound or mammogram, and you can also do ductogram and ductoscopy, and you must do a excision, that is the treatment, microductectomy, and you have to subject the specimen for biopsy. So if it is intraductal carcinoma, the DCIS or ductal carcinoma in situ turn into invasive ductal carcinoma. That is the cause for intraductal carcinoma. The history, okay, you will get bloody nipple discharge. Sign, palpable lump will be there always if it is intraductal carcinoma, and the discharge is spontaneous. You need not press the breast. It will come out, the discharge will come out spontaneously, and it is bloody nipple discharge, maybe from multiple ducts. Here also you should do an ultrasound, mammogram. You can also do ductogram or ductoscopy, and you have to here, because it is cancer, you shouldn't take any chance. You have to go for modified radical mastectomy, and you have to subject the specimen for biopsy for confirmation, histological confirmation. You have to always, whatever you are removing from the body, you have to, whatever tissue you are removing from the body, you have to subject it for biopsy. Then the third cause for nipple discharge is fibrocystic disease or fibroadenosis. This is also known as ANDI, abnormal development and involution, characterized by various stages of cyst, epitheliosis, adenosis and fibrosis. All these things will be there in case of fibrocystic disease. Patient history, they will have what is called cyclical mastalgia. That is, the pain will be aggravated just before menstrual period. That is what is called cyclical mastalgia. Whenever the patient is going to go for the menstruation, okay, the patient will experience severe pain. This is what is called cyclical mastalgia. The discharge could be serous, it could be yellow, green, brown discharge, but it is sticky in nature. And what are the signs? Patient, you will, if you palpate the breast, you will have that characteristic lumpy breast. And you have to press the breast to, express the serous discharge. It won't come automatically or spontaneously. So you have to press it so that it will come out. Coming to the diagnosis, clinically you can come to a diagnosis, but always you have to do an ultrasound and you have to do a biopsy whenever you are dealing with fibroadenosis or fibrocystic disease. You have to do a biopsy to rule out malignancy. So what is the treatment for fibrocystic disease? It is always conservative treatment. You have to do you can give evening primrose oil, vitamin E, or in some patients you can even give danazol. If it is ductal ectasia, okay, it is periductal inflammation with duct dilatation also. This is also known as plasma cell mastitis. Yeah, what is the history? Patient will have what is called MARD. MARD means M is there will be a mass or lump. A is for abscess, underlying abscess. R is for retraction, that is nipple retraction. And D is discharge, usually creamy discharge. Or it could be any color except, yeah, even bloody discharge also can happen, yeah, in ductal ectasia. But it is very rare. Usually it is creamy discharge. And coming to the signs, subareolar lump you can palpate, and slit-like nipple retraction will be there. Some of the patients, they will be having either abscess or fistula just below or around the areola. Here also, you should do ultrasound or mammogram or ductogram and ductoscopy, and you can subject the specimen for biopsy to confirm the ductal ectasia. Here, if you have confirmed the ductal ectasia, you can do what is called Hatfield's operation. This is the periareolar incision you have to make, and you have to excise a cone of breast tissue. The point is pointing towards the nipple, and the base is towards the base of the breast tissue. So you have to excise a cone of tissue that includes lot of the lactiferous ducts. You have to remove it, and then you have to, without distorting the form of the breast, you have to suture it back. Hatfield's operation. And coming to the prolactinoma, this is a benign tumor of the pituitary gland secreting prolactin hormone. It is usually, if patient is having ME and type 1, then that is having increased risk to develop prolactinoma. History, patient will be having profuse milk discharge or galactoria, milky nipple discharge. Many of the patient will be having also amenorrhea. If a patient is a non-pregnant woman with a profuse milky nipple discharge and amenorrhea, you have to rule out prolactinoma by doing an MRI of the brain. So if it is, what are the signs? Bilateral spontaneous milky discharge will be there in both the breasts. So what are the investigation you have to do? You can do serum prolactin level, that will be enormously increased. You can do either MRI or CT brain to rule out, to prove pituitary adenoma. And treatment is the pituitary adenoma is the excision of the pituitary adenoma. That is the treatment. So what I have here, I am telling vertical reading. Suppose if you want to compare and contrast, if you want to know what is the pathology in all these diseases, you can do what is called, instead of reading, usually we read horizontally, no. Here, if you want to know about the etiology of all these conditions, you can do what is called vertical reading. So what is the etiology for ductal papilloma? It is solitary proliferation of ductal epithelium. What is the etiology for intraductal carcinoma? You can read DCIS is turning into invasive ductal carcinoma. And what is for fibrocystic? It is AND. Like that, you can read like this. So you can compare the etiology of for ductal papilloma with the etiology for intraductal carcinoma. Like that, you can do this vertical reading. That is, by doing that, you can compare and contrast the various things. That is what I was discussing in the previous slide. There are some characteristic diagnostic feature for each disease. That is the diagnostic feature. So if the patient is having bloody nipple discharge, which is coming from a single duct, it is a case of ductal papilloma. Whereas if it is coming from multiple ducts, usually it is intraductal carcinoma. These are the characteristic features that you have to develop, that knowledge, that experience. Then you can make diagnosis very easy. That is what I want to emphasize by sharing this tabular column. I request my viewers, you can do for all problems. This is problem-oriented teaching. The problem is nipple discharge. I have made, this is a differential diagnosis, and I have made a tabular column like this. I didn't take it out from any other source. I only made this tabular column. Like that, you also can make this tabular column. I have already made a tabular column like this for scrotal swelling also. For all problems, you can make tabular column like this so that it will be easier for you to remember and come to a definitive diagnosis. So thank you very much for watching this video. If you think that these videos are very useful, kindly subscribe to this channel and share these videos in your social media. You click the bell button also to get notified regarding my latest uploads. Thank you once again for watching this video. Let us meet in yet another episode. Until then, bye bye.